So, want to know how to diagnose autism? Don't worry, in this video I'm going through that exact thing step by step, detail by detail to help you know how to diagnose autism. All that coming up. Hey guys, welcome back to TheAspieWorld. My name is Dan. I have autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I make weekly videos on this type of content. So if you're new around here and you want to learn more, remember to hit that subscribe button by clicking the notification bell. And if you're watching over on Facebook, be sure to give this page a like and a follow to see more videos just like this one. Hey guys, what is going on? How am I thinking differently fam doing today? We are all out there thinking differently, thinking outside the box, and I love that. So with that being said, the usual applies. If you haven't already, go follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. I love those social media platforms for connecting with you guys. So if you want to send me a DM or comment, I love to listen and talk to you guys. So do that right now. Also, if you have anything to add to this video, anytime through, just drop it in a comment down below. I read and respond to every single one, so it'd be really cool, and I'd love to know your tips and tricks and have that conversation with you along the way in this video. Right, okay, so I get this question asked a lot, like how do I diagnose autism in somebody? How does somebody get an autism diagnosis, and how do you go about getting an autism diagnosis, and how does autism be diagnosed? You know, there's all kinds of stuff. So for this specific video, I want to break down the step by step. I've got 6 steps, so don't worry, we're not gonna be here for hours. There's 6 steps of how you go about obtaining an autism diagnosis if you believe that the person you are dealing with, whether it be yourself, your child, somebody you know, is on the autism spectrum and you wanna help them out. This is gonna be how you do it. Okay, so let's jump right in with step number 1. So, number 1 is creating a list of all the quirks and differences that a person sees in you. You know, they might see something that you do out of the ordinary and they think that's quite quirky, and like typically a neurotypical person wouldn't do those things, so they say, you know, hey, you know, you eat every meal with a cocktail stick, or you line up all your shoes in like alphabetical order and you color coordinate your ties. So these kind of quirks, very interesting. Write them down in a huge list. If you're the person who is on the spectrum and you are trying to write it down for yourself, it's not going to be easy. I remember when I did this, me and my girlfriend sat down and I wrote a list and she wrote a list. I had like 2 things on my list, she had about 18. So it's always good to have somebody else who knows you very well to write this list for you, because I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. There's no way I could. If you don't have that luxury of doing this, don't worry, it's not an essential part, but it's definitely the first step into understanding anything that you may seem different to other people, in a good way, because different is awesome, right? It's empowering, but in a way where that might be classed as something that is just a bit out of the neurotypical sense. Okay, so number 2, and this is kind of an important one, this is taking an AQ test, which stands for Autism Quota. Now, an Autism Quota test, or an AQ test, is basically an online test that scopes out if you are on the autism spectrum or not by this calculation of knowing some of your characteristics and personality traits and then applying them to a typical rigid system, which is quite a crude system, to evaluate where you are on that chart. And they say something like, you know, if you're in the areas of like 25 to 35, you're kind of typically on the autism spectrum, and any higher than that, you're definitely on the autism spectrum, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is important for a few reasons. It's important because if you don't have any quirks that you can think of written down, this test will help you bring to light something that may not be as typical as you may think it is, which is good, because if you can't write all your quirks down, if you're doing it alone, then this will give you that clue or those answers. The other thing is that this test is the exact test that they actually do during the autism assessment, because they have an official version of this that you'll take anyway. So to do the online ones is a really good way to prep and kind of practice you for the test that's coming up, and as in like prep you, not like make sure you can diddly answers, because let's face it, you have to be honest with this, otherwise it's not going to work. For the AQ test, I will leave a link in the description below for a video I did on how to take that test, and also I will put it on the end screen so you guys can jump from this video to the AQ test video and get that sorted straight away. I would also highly recommend that you take the AQ test results that you do online, print them out, and take them with you with the next part, which I am going to talk to you about. Which brings me to number 3, or step number 3. Now, call your doctor and ask for an appointment to speak to them and discuss autism referrals. And when you get to see your doctor, bring with them the evidence that you've created, which is your list of quirks and your AQ test printout or whatever it is you managed to do, and explain to them that you may be on the autism spectrum and that you have a suspicion you're on the spectrum. I remember when I was going through this process, one of the things I did was bring to light the people who had questioned if I was on the autism spectrum and asked if I was autistic before I had my diagnosis. And so this became the leading kind of factor why I was taking the initiative to go to the doctor and ask for this referral. Then I said to the doctor, may I have a referral to an autism specialist or a clinic to speak to somebody who could then assess me for an autism spectrum disorder, which is exactly what the doctor did. And then they used those notes and wrote up a report that then went over to the team who then did the assessment. So this is paramount. You have to ask your doctor for a referral. Now this is how it works specifically in the NHS here in the UK. It's a little bit different in the United States, but it's a similar process. You ask your doctor for a referral and then you find an autism specialist. Okay, so step number 4 is kind of still within the realm of being in the doctor's surgery. What you need to do is write a good case. So speak to your doctor, asking them why you want the referral, and tell them, look, my results say this, these are my quirks, I cross-reference this with somebody else's livelihood, and it doesn't balance out, and it kind of shows that maybe I'm on the autism spectrum somewhere, and I need to be referred to a clinic to have an official autism diagnosis to see if it's autism or maybe something else that could be picked up during this process. Now, putting your case forward and putting out a formal request is going to be the best way that you will be taken seriously, because they know that you're not just saying it because you're bored or some other reason that could be completely, falsified or whatever. So I would say that step 4 is definitely make sure that you have a kind of plan of action or reasons why written out in a proper official version of what you want to do. Like, just write out a letter to your doctor and give that to your doctor as well, so they can use that in evidence when they present that to the referral team. Okay, so step number 5, you will be expected to sit 2 to 3 assessments in the autism process. So what happens is that you will sit down like a preliminary assessment where they'll assess you with one thing, and then they will basically like screen you, basically take details, typical quirks, all information from the referral program, do sort of like an interview with you, and then you go back and then you see a different person. I think I did 2 or 3, I can't remember, I think it was 2 main assessments and 1 kind of interview, and then the other 2 main assessments. So they'll ask you certain questions, you'll do an AQ test, you'll do all kinds of stuff, and then they formulate a diagnosis from those results. Basically they conclude it because they have all of the information that will be concluding if this person is on the autism spectrum, because they're the specialists and they're the people who are the people who are in charge of, the people who study this stuff, the people who diagnose stuff. So I would say expect 3 maximum tests or exams or like assessments, I don't know what you want to call it, but that whole process will typically be about 3 sessions long. Okay, so step number 6 is once you have your results, observe the results, observe the recommendations, and then implement those to the process of like recommended therapy, recommended help. Because the idea of going through this autism assessment process is so that it leads you to know what areas in your life that you would like to improve, how to improve them, and what types of therapy and support is available that you would like to use, take advantage of, and really get the better out of your life. Because that's pretty much what you're doing. If you're going for an autism diagnosis, why would you do this? Well, you want to do it because you want to know, are you on the autism spectrum? Could it be something else? Is it ADD? Is it a personality disorder? Is it ADHD? I mean, there's a bunch of different things that it could be, but you know once and for all what it is once you've gone through the process. Now, the other part is that you then have access to help and support in your daily life, because daily life can be a struggle. Sometimes getting an autism diagnosis officially isn't a priority for some people who are actually autistic, because they just don't feel like it's necessary. They feel like their life works well as they are. I know that I did a podcast with a woman whose mother was diagnosed with autism at 71 years old. So she did have struggles in her life, but there was no need for her until she was in a home, and then there was a big pressure on to understand what was going on with this woman's life, and she was 71 years old. So it just goes to say that, not everybody has to take an autism diagnosis if you don't want to, if you don't feel it's necessary. But I would recommend it just because if you want access to help and support in your life and guidance, I definitely think this is the way to go. Now, if you have anything to add to this process, or if you had a different experience, I'd love to know in a comment down below. Pop it down below right now. I read and respond to every comment. And also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Share it on Facebook and Twitter if you think it could give value to somebody. And I'll see you next time, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.